Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. I'm here with Abner, Benaim, and Ilse Salas to talk about their collaboration, the special Plaza Catedral. I hope I pronounced that. I'm not pronounced that terribly. I apologize. I'm embarrassed, especially considering that my family is Panamanian. And I watched this film actually in Panama, visiting Panama for the first time. I was with my father's, he hadn't been there in about 50 years. And so it was a special journey for us, homecoming for both of us. And it was really, really special to get to see this film as part of the Panamanian International Film Festival. And this was, I think, the first film that we saw at the festival, and it really blew myself and my father away. And definitely, I think for him, opened some old wounds. And so, I guess my first question for you, Abner, is why this story?
Well, it's one of those strange things. I used to live in that plaza in Plaza Catedral, and I would talk to a man who would take care of cars, sitting in my balcony, and we just had good conversations. And I said at some point, this is a good origin, a good beginning for a story, but I didn't know where it would take me. And years after writing and rewriting, it became what you saw, which is a woman who lost a son, who's grieving, who encounters this kid from the streets, who's taking care of cars illegally in the square, and they both have their own problems, and they don't really want to accept anybody's help. I think I was attracted to talking about the how we as individuals, we stay with our own problems inside and don't share them with the person who's next to us. Sometimes that person could be even someone very close, like a spouse or someone in the family, or it could be someone farther away. And then when we do, the effect of one person in our life can be so big, when we share, when we open up. So I did want to talk about that. That was something that was in my mind. And then, the process of writing took it in the direction that it became what it became in the end.
So I think in a sense, you were in some ways the main character, in terms of living in this area. Now, a question I have for you about setting it there specifically, was there some kind of, was there any sort of, because the movie is in a lot of ways about, even though it's a, interpersonal drama about this relationship, it's also a movie about class. And I wondered if the decision to set the movie specifically in that part of Panama revolved around that. Is that sort of like some kind of sort of hub for, poor folks and sort of the more middle class to interact? Because the sense I got in traveling to Panama is that it's very, like the United States, very segregated racially and economically. And is that sort of area a place where people with classes can kind of meet?
Yeah, well, it's a place where it's happening right now. The gentrification in that place is still happening. So you will have people from, who are originally there, people with very low income, and people who just moved in, very rich people. And as you say, it's also related to, it's class, and it's also related to racial issues. So in Panama, as in Latin America, that still somehow is together. So I did want to use that place as an example of where you can see it happening, where you can, because all of Panama is very much a place of many contrasts. You see the high rises and you see right next to it very poor neighborhoods. But in that neighborhood in Catedral, you still see people together, and for good and for bad, because sometimes you see that they do have good relations also, that it can happen, that real interaction can exist. You know, so you have both. You have the distance, but you also can have the proximity.
Now, Ilse, were you familiar with Panama? Had you traveled to Panama prior?
No, never.
Wow. Okay. So how did you two connect?
Well, go you go
sorry.
ahead. No, it's okay. I mean, I just wanted Ilse to act in the film, so I sent her the script. I thought she was one of the best actresses for the role, but she can.
Well, it was my first time in Panama, and my first impression was, I mean, I was living in Plaza Catedral in that neighbor. And of course, I thought it was beautiful, and I didn't realize about the gentrification issue. I mean, it was something that happened with the time that I start to see things. And there are many similarities with my country, but Panama is very small, Mexico is giant. But we have a lot of common because we are Latin American, and all this social issue, I live with it every day here in Mexico. So I know I have to be like an outsider. I'm the Mexican in the movie. I mean, I'm not from there. I don't have family there, so it helps a lot with the story because I don't have anywhere to go or nobody to talk or whatever. So it helped. The real thing that I was alone by myself in the hotel, it was very helpful to do the character.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's the real life circumstances definitely fed the role. How did you how much rehearsal time did you have with Fernando?
I preferred not to do any rehearsals with him. He was prepared by a coach, but mostly I begged her not to try to teach him how to act because he was such a natural. So he would do exercises in concentration or playing, and things that would help him be prepared to come to the set, but no real rehearsals. So what I would do, and I also asked people not to show them the script. I mean, I never showed it because I saw that he was very good at just improvising. So I would tell him what's going to happen that day when we're shooting, when he arrived on set, and then we would talk it through with Ilse. Ilse knew it already by heart. So she would lead the scene, and I would tell him stuff like, when Ilse asks you this, you will answer that, and then she'll tell you this, and you will answer this. And he got it, really fast, and then we would play with it, and he would usually tell me stuff like, no, I wouldn't say that way, or I don't do that, or stuff. He would take it to a real place, and then we would just start shooting. So it was really interesting to work with both Ilse and him at the same time. Ilse can tell you more from the inside, how it felt.
Please.
Since the beginning, I was very interested in working with non-professional actors because I think there's opportunity for me to learn many things, and that was so. And Fernando was really something special because he was very smart and very talented, and I learned the most obvious thing in acting, which is you have just to be there and use your imagination. I mean, you don't have to prepare many formal things, So it was very easy to work with him, but he was very tough with me also.
How so?
He told me things like, I was telling him, I remember one scene, and I said, but you must laugh. Why don't you laugh? Because you are not funny. And I was like, well, that might be true. So I have to be very, very honest to make you laugh, because you won't act you know? So, and we became friends very, very easily since the beginning. And it was very shocking, I mean, to realize that the story, it's about a woman being afraid of a kid, which is absolutely nuts. And in Mexico, and I know in many, many countries, that is so. I mean, a country who is afraid of their own kids, it's a very damaged, you know, country. It's a deep, deep, deep problem. And I realized by acting that he's just a kid. And it's so absurd and it's so painful to realize that in my society we're all apart. And well, that's, I can talk about for a long time, but we don't have time. But knowing Fernando as a kid, just playing, make me realize how painful is the reality he has to embrace at home, not just in the movie, but in real life.
How did you meet Fernando, Abner? How did you cast him? How would you find him?
Well, we knew that to cast a kid like that, you know, we couldn't go to any casting agencies because they don't, you know, they don't have them. So we went to the neighborhood where we were about to shoot, and he came in alone. He didn't ask anybody, and he blew us away. You know, from the first test he did on camera, he was such a natural and such a charismatic person. You know, he was the type of a guy who would walk into a room and automatically everyone was paying attention, and 3 seconds later you fell in love with him. But really, you know, I'm not just saying that. And then it took about a year since that first audition until we actually started shooting. So we opened again the process, and we saw maybe 200 and 250 kids, always knowing in my mind that it was going to be him, but I wanted to be sure. And I remember a couple of things he told me when we were doing one of the last tests. I said to him and a couple of other kids, "This is not a competition. You're all going to be in the film. It's just different characters." And he came to me and said, I know it's a competition, and I want to tell you, I'm going to win. And, you know, in my mind, I said, yeah, you just won, you know. Yes, of course. Because, and I remember talking about acting, what Ilse was saying. He was such a really like a method, or, you know, like a studio actor. He came to me a couple of weeks into the shoot and said to me, "Abner, I got this. I know exactly what it means to." I'm like, "What do you mean? What did you get?" "I just have to listen." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what they teach actors for years." But he, you know, no one told him. He was just really into it, and, you know, he had incredible instincts. And he would tell me stuff like that also, like, "I'm not gonna cry in this scene." And I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "I don't cry, and my character would never cry. Don't ask me to cry. I'm not going to do it." And you know, and so I said, "Okay, what would you do?" I said, "Well, I'll play it straight. You know, I'm not going to let her see that I'm crying. Never." And I said, "Okay, let's go with your, you know," and stuff like that. I mean, it was really interesting. You know, you would forget that he's a boy after a couple of minutes talking to him and acting. And then he would remind you because he would be so playful.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we're talking about him in the past tense. It was, you know, devastating to find out that he was murdered soon before the film was released. Talk a little bit about that experience for you all, you know, as collaborators, and just also just, you know, a child losing his life so young. It really, for me, watching the film with that context gave it a whole nother level of, you know, emotional weight. That, yeah, I mean, it was very affecting. So speak a little bit about, you know, what that's been like for you all and for his family as well.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's the personal side. We lost someone we loved, and that was hard enough. We really got to know him well, and we hoped for so much to happen to him, good things that would come his way. Um, and then comes what does it mean to be talking about this topic? But it was a movie, so it's even if a film is very serious and wants to say something, it still is a film. But then when he was killed, and the similarities between what happened and in real life, and the character he was playing were so big, the parallel was so obvious that it was really, really strange and harrowing, and made it all the more sad, because I wish it was just a film, and then I knew him very well, and I know his family, but then when you open the newspapers, not only in Panama, anywhere in Latin America, you see dead kids in street violence every day, and almost always it's no names, or if you see a name, you have no emotional connection to them. But then after something like this happens to you personally, then you can't not feel anything when you see all those names every day, because each one is important for their family, for their group of friends, their own part of society. And it's just a sad situation, and there's a lot to do, but then you also feel helpless because you don't know where to even start. It's such a big, complex issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, I saw that the film recently got picked up by Samuel Goldwyn Mayer. Is that for U.S. distribution?
Yeah, US and Canada. Yeah.
In Canada, that's excellent. Congratulations to you both. And also, we're doing this obviously because the film's been shortlisted for the Oscar. Talk a little bit about what role that's played, if any, in sort of getting the word out there and getting the film out there, and what that means for you.
Yeah, well, it's been a game changer in the sense of visibility, because we have a very small film from Panama. Ilse is very well known in Latin America, but I'm, you know, I'm a not so well known director, and the movie, the title wasn't famous. So getting in the short list did put it in front of many people who are watching the film now, and we got distribution for the US, and we're almost about to close distribution in Latin America also. So now we know that the film is going to be watched, which is for me the most important, of course, as a director. I want people to see it, to connect with it, to feel, and to carry the message of the film, and to carry all that light, that everything we've been talking about Fernando. His grandmother always says to me, like, at least he's, his light continues to glow inside the film. I know it's not, it's no consolation, but we do want it to be watched, and that's happening now thanks to the shortlist. So it's really good.
I'm happy to hear that. Happy to hear that. Well, this has been a conversation with myself, Shaka King, Ilse Salas, and Abner Benaim.
Thank you, Shaka. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.